This is my older John Deere 185 hydro mower. It's actually been a really good mower for me for most of its life. I bought it off of eBay from somebody locally. I bought it for cheap money because it wasn't running right. And what I found was it was really hard to start. And when it did run, it ran really poorly. And what it was bad was what they call the igniter module, which John Deere sells. This is an aftermarket igniter module that I found on eBay for about a third of the cost of the original John Deere part. So apparently this is a somewhat common failure on these models here. It's a little electronic circuit inside this casing here that takes the place of a points and condenser setup. So when it's working, it makes it a much more reliable starter because it gives it a much hotter spark. So the problem I'm having with it now, it's been a very good mower for me since I replaced that module. Mowed all last year, and then near the end of the season I ended up having a problem where the module had failed again, and that was actually my fault that time. What had happened was my battery was skunked, and I had shut it off and it wouldn't restart. And so I tried using the jumper cables and jumping it from my truck, which was a mistake, and consequently I ended up damaging the module. At least that's what I believe. So I ordered another one of these modules and replaced it, and it was fine again. And then I put it away, and then this season I had to clean the carburetor. And after cleaning the carburetor, it was starting perfectly fine and running. And I mowed the lawn that I use this on, I mowed without any issues. And then last night I went to mow that same lawn again because we had a lot of rain and the grass had grown pretty fast. And it started doing something which I don't recall having this problem before. I think maybe I did have this problem once before, but it seemed to like go away on its own. But anyways, what I've got going now is the mower starts to sputter and almost stall when it gets hot. And the reason why I believe it's when it gets hot and not a time related issue is because it only seems to happen when I'm mowing. And what I found is that if I disengage the PTO and start just driving it, like to drive it back to the house because it's running poorly, that within a couple of minutes it starts to actually improve. And so much so that if you let it just sit and idle, it actually seems like the problem is completely gone. And then as soon as you start mowing, you get a couple minutes into mowing, the problem immediately returns. That's with the engine hot. From a cold start, it actually takes a little while longer. So that's why I think it's temperature and load related. And of course, the larger load on the engine of the spindles, the mower, would naturally cause the engine to run hotter. So again, I think it might be temperature related. So there's a couple of possibilities I've been thinking about. One possibility is it could be I just checked my oil level, and my oil level is, I wiped the dipstick and reinserted it. The oil level is actually near the bottom edge of the range of the safe zone. So my thought there was maybe I'm getting lower oil pressure, and maybe when the engine gets really hot, that oil pressure starts to drop to a point where the low oil shutoff right here starts to be engaged, and maybe that has something to do with killing the ignition when that happens. Not sure. That's not what I think it is, though. The other possibility is, at one point when I had this carburetor off and was cleaning it, I accidentally broke off the bottom half of this plastic shield. It's some sort of a composite material. It's like a plastic, but it obviously must be able to take the high heat. And what that shield does is it sticks down over here, and it covers it kind of shields the back of the carburetor bowl from the fins here on the cooling fins on the cylinder. And interestingly enough, I had seen in a parts breakdown of something called a warm weather kit, and that shield was present. Now, I don't know whether or not they're saying that the shield is a different size for warm weather or what, but interestingly enough, it was in something called a warm weather kit. So theory number 2, which may be more sound, is that what's happening is when the engine gets really hot, it starts to actually vaporize fuel in the carburetor bowl. Like that the carburetor bowl is actually getting so hot that it's causing the failure. So that's another theory. It might be far-fetched, who knows, or it might be dead on. And then the last theory I have is that my little module right here is overheating and causing me to have poor spark. The reason why I think that might be a possibility is because I've got it basically just strapped to this oil dipstick tube, and my thinking is that this might be getting pretty darn hot when the engine's running, and that maybe it might be just this, something as simple as just relocating that module. So I guess on the original, I don't really recall, but on the original John Deere, I think this module is actually bolted to one of these bolts on the engine, and that I've read a lot of forums with people talking about these modules failing, and a lot of people believe that actually creates a situation where the modules fail because the engine gets too hot and damages the module. So don't know, but anyways, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start it up from a cold start and start mowing and show you what it does. Okay, so there's a problem with the solenoid switch. It's always been an issue on this tractor. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And then somebody bypassed it and basically put this push button starter switch on here. So choke on. Don't even need to let it warm up very long. It idles perfectly. So it's interesting how well it runs when it's first started. It's cold. So now I'm going to drive over to where that lawn is that I'm going to cut. Okay, where the lawn is that I'm cutting is about a 5-minute drive over from the yard where I started the tractor, and no sooner than I crossed the road here, it started to sputter, and as soon as I got over here in the yard, it actually completely stalled. Yesterday it was just sputtering and backfiring, but it wasn't stalling out, and I was able to get it back to the house. And like I said, after I shut the PTO off, disengaged the mower deck, it actually got better, and by the time I drove over there it seemed okay. So I started cutting grass over there, and then it came right back again. So today it's actually gone to just completely stalling out. So now that's making me think it might also be another possibility. It might be a fuel delivery issue. I mean, I don't really see that high of a temperature, 188 degrees. The bowl is about 128. Is it really getting that hot? It doesn't even feel like I'm not getting an accurate reading with my thing here. It's yeah, the cylinder is about 190 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't think the bowl is anywhere near that. Yeah, the bowl's much lower. Alright. And then as far as that module goes, can't imagine that's very hot at this early in a stage. No, it's not. So kind of makes me think that that's not the module that's going to be the culprit this time around. So, I mean, I did have to clean the carburetor, and there was some garbage in there. Maybe I'll have to drop the float bowl and see what's going on in there. I read some forums online last night specific to this model and this particular type of problem, and a lot of people said that they found their problem stemmed from bad fuel line that breaks down from the alcohol in the fuel and causes the little black pieces to come off and clog it. And a lot of people also talked about that this fuel valve right here being a restricted point where a lot of garbage can collect and get clogged. So might have to examine that. Well, it goes without saying I won't be cutting any grass today. So if I can get it to restart, try and limp it back to the garage. Yeah, see, the key switch is actually working now. That spoke too soon. Alright, so